What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to show you guys the power plant that's going to be going in the rat rod. And this is a pretty cool piece because it is an all aluminum tall deck big block Chevy. Personally, I don't have any experience with the big block Chevy platform, so this is really exciting for me as I get to learn how to tinker with these big blocks, tune them, and just play around with them. So what we got here is a 565 cubic inch tall deck, big block Chevy. It's got an aluminum dart block, AFR cylinder heads. These are their version 2 Magnum 385cc heads. Super gorgeous pieces. Stepping back here a little bit more, this is the star of the show right here. Now, this is what I'm really stoked about. This is a very special supercharger because it came from the DSR Top Fuel Racing team. DSR's Don Schumacher Racing team. By the way, they are the most winningest team in NHRA history, which is a pretty amazing feat. So shouts out to them for that amazing accomplishment. This supercharger is a magnesium case PSI 1471, which for the people that don't speak car language, that is one of the biggest superchargers you could get in a root style configuration. It's sitting on top of a Profiler tunnel ram intake with 8 injectors welded into each runner. Because we are going to be running EFI on this engine. Sitting on top of the blower here is a JBR carbon 4-blade hat, which looks absolutely killer, and this will be above the roofline of the car, so it's going to look real mean, real nasty. Yeah, here we got a rod and piston out of the motor here, a nice forged rod, good forged aluminum piston. 4,600 bore, 4,250 stroke, so it should be good to turn some pretty good RPM. I have a custom spec camshaft coming from my buddy Ben Strader. Crowler lifters, like I said, the AFR cylinder heads, just a lot of great pieces in this engine, and I'm really excited to get this thing together. So, like you see here, all the main parts are pretty much here. The only parts I have to get to wrap this thing up, we got to get head studs, head gaskets, what else? Push rods, valve covers, just a couple little miscellaneous parts, and this thing will be ready to get dropped into the chassis of the car. I already got the transmission, which is going to be a 3-speed turbo 400. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Quick, easy video for you guys. Let's go ahead and start diving into getting this thing assembled. Before I torque down these rod bolts, I wanted to explain how to do it the right way, in my opinion. There's 2 ways of doing it. First way is you go to the manufacturer's recommendation torque spec, whether it be 50, 60, 70 foot-pounds of torque. You set your torque wrench to that, you yank it until it clicks, and ship it. The second way of doing it is measuring rod bolt stretch. It's a way more precise way of torquing a fastener. All torque wrenches do is essentially just measure the friction of the threads that the bolt is tightening down on. Now, if you have motor oil or an assembly lube or an actual thread lubricant, those are all going to change the torque values on the fastener, even though your torque wrench is only set to whatever number you set it to, say 60 foot-pounds. It's going to stretch the bolt different lengths. So the correct way of doing it is getting the tool. I have one right here from ARP, and this measures the stretch of the bolt as you're tightening it down. So I just gave it one pass right here at 65 foot-pounds. It's a little short, so we're gonna torque it down a little bit more to stretch the bolt out a little bit longer. So let's go ahead and do that. Over here with our stretch gauge. And you see right there, we are still a little short. The target is in between these 2 marks, so right around between 5 and 6 10,000ths of an inch. As you see there, we're right at 6 thou of stretch. To put things into kind of perspective here, the rod bolt manufacturer calls for 90 pound-feet of torque to get to the proper stretch. Well, for me to get to the proper stretch with using the motor oil that I used, it took right at 105 pound-feet of torque. So that's why I don't really go off of just the torque spec that comes on the sheet when you buy rods. I always do stretch because the rod bolts are the most stressed pieces of hardware in the engine. It has to hold the whole rod and piston when it's coming down, and it has to basically just handle all the abuse that the engine's going through. If those bolts fail, the connecting rod comes off the crank, goes to the side of the block, and you got yourself a big problem. So very, very important to tighten these bolts down properly, and yeah, that's why I did that little how-to. So I hope you learned something there. Alrighty guys, well I hope you learned a little something there in this video. I'm gonna go ahead and continue on. I'm gonna get the head studs measured up, get the head gaskets on order so I can button up the long block, get this thing sat in the car, and then get the blower bolted on this thing. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to keep watching, subscribe, tune in. We got a lot more work to do on this rat rod, so let's go.